What's up, guys? My name is Rodrigo Arantes. I'm a gameologist and author of this book called A Jogada, Wisdom from Games for the New Generation Managers, a book about game theory applied to management decisions. And I'm also Brazilian, based in Brazil, and founder of an institute of gameology. Today we are going to discuss the game behind the TikTok app and why is it being banned from the United States and India's internet, or Trump has been demanding that TikTok be sold to Microsoft or it will be banned until September. Why is a apparently innocent app being considered a threat for the ongoing of the 2020 elections? Well, today big data is the new weapon. We're living in the age of information, and owning so much data of billions and billions of users is a way of influencing the results of any elections in a democratic nation worldwide, with exception for China and Russia, which are countries that have their internets monitored and closed to some forms of foreign products. So it's natural that the TikTok app, an app that is apparently innocent, is being seen as a possible threat or a possible way of hacking those elections, because when you own data from billions and billions of users, you're able to engineer the result of a election. And this election particularly is perhaps the most consequential, the most important election of the century until now, because it's on stake, it's on the result of this election can define the destiny of the world's most powerful military organization, which is NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization that has been there since the ending of the Second World War, and it is the organization that manages the international trade in all oceans in the world. So since the Chinese project, the OBOR, presented by Chinese leaders in 2012, the future of NATO has been under questioning, because China and Russia proposed to European nations the creation of a network of railroads, of magnetic levitation bullet trains that could connect the biggest Chinese cities with the biggest European cities, and this could simply transport the epicenter of the global capitalism from North Atlantic to the Central Eurasia, and with this a major threat for the stability of the American dollar as the global currency of trade. This is why the President Trump has been demanding more and more participation from European nations in keeping the military hardware of NATO, which is the most expensive hardware, military hardware in the world today. The US Army has a budget larger than all military budgets in the world today combined. And this is essentially why perhaps these European nations are looking for a cheaper trade deal for their economies, especially Germany, who sees in China their preferential consumer market, while Russia their preferential energy source. And this is why the scandal of spying from the USA security agencies has happened since 2013, the Edward Snowden case, and that there is a very high probability that this election will define the endings of these military trade that there have been, that are today kind of obsolete or disrupted. They are disrupted because the possibility of this technology, the magnetic levitation, bullet trains, simply makes disrupted the billion-dollar hardware invested on aircraft carriers that kind of sheriff the global trade in the oceans, and that is a way of making these military hardware simply unnecessary anymore. And this would mean that the United States, the American way of life as we know it, is kind of unsustainable right now. It's unaffordable because it is only affordable if you have the power of printing the dollar as the global currency, something that has a high probability to change if the OBOR or the new Silk Roads be implemented and established with the leadership of China, Russia, and Germany. So the TikTok app is in the middle of these international disputes right now, and that's why it is being banned from United States and India's internet. The case for India is a little different. These two Asian giants have centuries of disagreements and conflicts between each other. They have border disputes, and some days ago they even had physical conflict on their borders. Some soldiers died, and that's why India has banned not just TikTok but many other dozens of others Chinese apps. And I have published some days ago an article analyzing how these can change the table of the global geopolitical game, and how this opens the window for creation of another trade and block of power, of geopolitical power, now better representative of the new global south, because the Silk Roads, they are kind of creating the new global north, composed by Europe, which was already in the global north, but also with Russia and China. Global north means the richer side of the planet, and the new global south would be composed now by nations like India, Brazil, and perhaps in more after some time, the North America. That if without the power of printing the global currency, would be not anymore on the team of the most industrialized nations in the world, and now a more and more exporter of agro-business commodities, it would become more and more part of the global south. The United States just had its worst quarter in history, with shrinking of 32% of its GDP. United States is facing many tensions on its cities, internal tensions around racial matters, and also the tremendous challenge of the COVID-19 pandemic. So we are watching a scenario of all these structure of power of the United States collapsing in a similar way as the Soviet Union collapsed. And on this situation, I see a high probability that the United States is in some years will become part of the global South, together with Brazil and India and all South America and Africa. So this new block I'm calling the new spice routes is mentioning is a reference to old trade route that was created by the Portuguese navigators when they discovered a new route for India, going through south of Africa, which even named some cities in the south of Africa, like the KP city. And with this, we are seeing somehow a likely recreation of a dynamic from the Middle Ages, of a trade dynamic, which was first there existed the Silk Roads that connected Rome and China through the leadership of Italian traders, and after the Portugal discovered this alternative route, then emerged these new the new route through India, which was the reason why America was discovered. They had the speculations that Earth was rounded, so you could go through India, reach India going through west, and that's how America was discovered. First by Columbus, but Columbus didn't knew he had not been to India, but actually to Bahamas and Florida. So after he came back, and after hearing his story, the Portuguese king ordered a new expedition to find which land was this. And on these new expeditions, Americo Vespucci, the Italian who named this continent, were on it, and Americo has essentially visited all the coast of South America, mostly Brazil, and he reached Patagonia as the first European navigator to reach Patagonia. And with these, he had the proof that he had been to a new land, and it was not India. So that's why for a long time, America was known as the Western Indias because this tropical part of America, essentially Brazil, had some of the spices that similar spices that also India, and this is why the creation of these new block, the spice routes, is likely to happen in the next years, and this is why the TikTok app is becoming such a tremendous geopolitical conflict. Essentially, we are watching the way that wars happen in the 21st century, and this is a very strategical level of trade wars, and I don't see how the results of this election can change this future scenario, because it doesn't matter if Donald Trump or Joe Biden being elected. I don't see any way of stopping these new configuration to become, because once these new technologies are already there, there is no why keeping feeding these old structures that are too expensive and already disrupted. So it's just a matter of time. But in the case of the election of Donald Trump, I see this happening faster, and in case of the election of Joe Biden, I see NATO surviving for a little more, except if Joe Biden keeps the aggressive attitude against Venezuela, which would bring a lot of instability and problems in between NATO participants, just like Colombia, which has become a new member of NATO, and this could be another way of sealing the coffin of NATO, because it's kind of a war that would create tremendous liabilities to the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, and it's also something that would create a lot of instability to the region, and this mistake would for sure settle and disagreement between the European and the North American participants of NATO. So it's just a matter of time. I don't see how this can be avoided anymore. But the TikTok became, on this moment, a few months before the election, a matter of somehow influencing the results of these elections. So I'm leaving the article down here in the comments. You can check it, and let's keep this discussion alive, because it's essentially the future of the century is being defined right now in front of us. See you later. Bye.